The whole world was crying when Kurt went kabang. When Eazy-E died, though, it wasn't no thang. Rapper dies of AIDS, but you hardly mention. Rocker blows his face off and becomes a legend. Heroin in a shotgun, a hero is made. Maybe I should try that shit so Guy can get paid. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And welcome along. And we're trialing some new things.
New technology here.
New technology. We're trying the Beast, the custom-built Beast PC. So I managed to figure out after hours of tearing my hair out in despair and shouting expletives, I managed to figure out how to get OBS working and both cameras working and everything working at least to some degree on this machine. So this is our first test. So in theory, this is the most powerful system that we have at our disposal, right? So in theory, and it's connected wired connection to the internet. So
yeah,
and OBS is meant to be a PC based software initially, you know. So in theory, it should run the best it ever has up until this point. In theory.
Well, also because you've got a PC, you could download Streamlabs OBS, known as Slobs, which is it combines all the Streamlabs graphic stuff and all that into OBS.
Right.
And it's but you can only get it on PC. You can't do it on the Mac. So that's why we've been doing it separately with Streamlabs as in a different place, doing a different thing.
Right.
So yeah. Well, that's one for the PC, I guess. That's one for the PC-nesses.
Well, to take one off for the PC just as soon as we added one. So obviously, I've been struggling my way through with this PC. I've been trying to get things to work. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You know, it's meant to be this amazing machine that would destroy the equivalent iMac, and it's meant to be cheaper. It's not really cheaper. It doesn't have Thunderbolt. There's all sorts of things that kind of moderately to significantly piss me off. And then I was like, all right, but at the end of the day, what do I need this for? I need it for the edits, man. It's all about the editing. What's this? We've got a little message here. Are we loud enough?
It's from me.
Oh, sweet.
Wally, don't read out my admin messages.
I can barely.
It's just for the people on the live stream.
I couldn't really read it, so
right.
I was reading it off our screen. That's what confused me. But anyway, so I was like, it really matters. It's all about the edit. So essentially, what I did is I've got this fancy new camera, and I did some test footage with it, and I sort of brought it into the edit suite to be like, cool. Well, this is it. This is your big chance, and I started editing with it. And it fucked out quite quickly. And it was stuttery and shit, as if it was a shitty, crappy machine, just like my laptop. So it was like not providing me any performance advantage. And, you know, there was just problems like there's a certain file type that I always use to edit. In fact, it's what we master all our videos to. Like all our big videos, all our films have been mastered to ProRes HQ, which is more a native Mac thing, but it's also universally what you sort of use as your final thing. So all our final things are in a ProRes format. And I tried playing a fucking ProRes thing, and it fucking shat itself. So that does create a bit of an issue if every single fucking thing we have ever made is ProRes, and it kind of shits itself a bit when you play ProRes. So
another strike for the PC.
Well, that was strike fucking 5. You're out for me. That was cut my losses, cut my significant losses, cut my potentially $1,000 losses, and fuck off with this PC. So but another strike against the PC.
So what have you done?
So I put it on Trade Me. Trade Me is where you buy and sell secondhand goods. So I put it on Trade Me, and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm just going to get a Mac. I'm going to do what I did before. I'm obviously going to sell it at a loss, but it's brand new essentially. It's like a month old. It's just over a month old. Everything's new, all the warranties in place. It's like
any of you PC-nesses out there need a PC?
It's like buying a brand new freaking PC. I put it up with like a sort of a $700 discount at the sort of reserve price. 4 fucking watches over the course of a week. Zero bids. 4 watches.
Yeah.
That's like a very little interest. And it's like, PCs are so shit, you can't even sell PCs.
Yeah.
To other PC people.
Well, everyone out there knows, mate. We're all Mac attackers out here now. There's no PC-nesses left.
This is disgusting that a PC that I bought like a month ago can't retain its value. Not even its value. $700 less value.
Yeah.
I'm ropeable. So now, obviously, I've dropped it down just a touch. And then if it doesn't sell, I'm stuck with it. That's it.
Well, it is quite good for this podcast so far.
You're looking at you're like, hey, you go, in the history of this podcast, this has never looked better.
No, exactly. So, yeah.
So maybe I should rethink that.
It does look very good because even I look good, and I'm coming in on the Skype, which is weird.
Yeah. So, okay, so we got 1 for the PC, 1 versus like fucking 7 strikes at this stage. But I'm still not happy. I'm not happy about any of it. I'm not happy about losing money. I'm not happy that I, tried to invest. I tried to be clever. Never try and be clever.
No, not without asking me first.
Never think these things. Never try and. But anyway, so if there's, I know we've got PC users here. I know we've got some PC Sifty 150ers. We've got some master PC builders here. Hey, give me some fucking advice. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why is it you doing this to me, guys?
Well, I think part of the issue is you've got to learn a whole other, system. Exactly. Yeah. Which you need to battle your way through that.
Yeah.
Which is obviously painful.
Painful
to just to get back to where you would have been.
Yeah. So
in terms of your competency.
Yeah. So very incompetent at the moment. And I will let you know if it does sell this time. If it doesn't sell this time, that's it. I'm in. The fucking Godfather. I'm in. They drag me back in. Can't sell a fucking PC. Can't sell a brand new PC. That's how great PCs are. Can't sell a brand new one for $700 less than brand new prices. Unbelievable.
But after that update there.
Yeah.
That was the Insane Clown Posse, those lyrics, by the way.
What did he say again? I was kind of looking at our...
You were checking the live stream.
Yeah, I was checking the live stream.
He was lamenting the fact that people cause scandal, for example, like Christians protesting Marilyn Manson. People create scandal which makes those people that they're trying to destroy, makes them rich. And then he says that about how nobody cared when Eazy-E died of AIDS, but everyone gave a shit when Kurt Cobain took drugs and blew his head off.
Yeah.
And then he suggests that perhaps he should blow his head off so that his business partner might get paid.
And also to save the world from any more terrible ICP albums.
Well, do you want to know what the name of that song was?
What?
Terrible.
And this was from their good era, presumably.
Yeah. This is an old one from
their classic.
Back when I used to rep them.
Their classic ICP.
Back when I had
era.
my dreadlocks.
Back when you used to wear the ICP makeup. What are those? The Juggalos. Back when you were a Juggalo.
Back when I was a Juggalo.
I think it would probably be hilarious if you and I put some face paint on and went to a Halloween party and called ourselves Juggalos at this point.
Well, I do think
there's some humor in
we
that.
We could go as Jay and Silent, not Jay and Silent, but Violent Jay and Shaggy Too Dope. Yeah,
Shaggy Too Dope.
I'm pretty sure you'd be Violent J and I'd be Shaggy Too Dope.
Violent J is the fat one, right?
I think so. Yeah.
See that. 99 kgs.
Is that what you are?
Yeah, at the moment, 99 kg. So
Is that big? Is that big or small?
It's too big. It's
too big for you.
Too big for me. Yeah. So
yeah,
clawing it back 98.5 the other day. That was a good moment for me.
That was a success.
But there's always these moments, and you just sit there, and you're like, fuck it, I want an ice cream, and you just go get that ice cream, and then you feel terrible because you know that you're only hurting not only are you hurting yourself, you're hurting your ego. When you look at yourself in the mirror, when you're hopping into the shower and you see us
catch a
glimpse of this fucking obese man staring back at you. Obese man that could barely fit himself into his wrestling tights anymore. So you go, what have I become? So yeah, that's what I'm dealing with. But I will have some goody gumdrop ice cream later tonight, most probably. There is a high chance of that. So
right. So you haven't learned your lesson.
I haven't. This is the thing.
It's not enough. You need to see your fat ass in the mirror some more times before you can really learn the lesson.
This is the truth, and this is the problem with all unhealthy activities, right? Is that, for instance, if you start eating healthier, you will get healthier, and you will lose weight, right? When you start doing that. So, you always believe that you can start doing that. And it's the same with quitting smoking or alcohol or anything, as you go, well, all I have to do is just do that thing and I will become like, these, whether it's true or not, this isn't like a lifelong sentence to being a fatty, or this is not my lungs aren't, cancerous yet. So I can stop smoking and everything will be fine. So I don't have to stop today. I just know that I have to do that quite soon. And so for me, it's like, I can eat goody gumdrop ice cream today because I don't know when I have to fit back into these wrestling tights. But I know that it's not tomorrow. So I know I keep getting these stay of executions, on this road to recovery. And so then you just make that excuse. Well, I'll start it tomorrow. Start the diet. Diet starting tomorrow. Or I've gone off the rails this week, but next week it will be easy. That's next week, and then I'll be back on track again. It's no worries. So yeah, that's what I'm wrestling with at the moment. Goody gumdrop ice cream.
Well, speaking of being a fatty and so on, there was a dress up party, and I went along and got my hands on the costume nice and early because I needed to see how low cut it was. Because it was a gladiator costume, and so I was picturing, a gladiator, gladiator.
You were picturing
scantily clad.
You were picturing Russell Crowe in Gladiator.
Yeah, exactly.
You have been likened to Russell Crowe
before
too in Gladiator.
Yeah,
when you were 20, that's what we sort of
so
assessed you as.
Yeah.
So you thought that this costume would bring you back to that moment in time.
Yeah. So I had to get my hands on it anyway, to see how bad it was going to look, because I was a bit worried about being all fat and hairy, basically, in front of all of my friends, colleagues. But yes, anyway, good times.
Well, so was it too low cut, or what was it? Or
no, it was all good. That was all good. It was lovely. And it was a good party. I was relieved. I was relieved that I did not have to show off my hairy shoulders or shave my hairy shoulders. Although I did have to shave like just a bit down the back because it was quite low cut at the back. So I just had to shave my head. I just had to go a little south. It was always a tough decision for Harley. Where does the back hair become head hair? So on that day I chose low. I went south. Yeah, well, I also went to a beer festival because there was a job that I was working at, and it was the business awards, the Westpac Business Awards, and while I was there, I bumped into the owner of a fancy, trendy beer company here, a bar, I guess you'd call them, called the Beer Spot. And I bumped into the owner, and he gave me a couple of tickets to this big festival they're doing called the Beer Festival. And so these tickets are worth $50, and I was like, sweet. So I'll go along, and I had two of them, and I've got two wrists. So it's got a wristband, and each wristband is worth $25. I was like, sweet. Well, I'll just go along and drink some beers. And it turns out it was just the ticket to get me in. It wasn't actually they don't come with a loaded wristband. It was literally just a ticket to get into a place where I could then purchase beer.
Right.
What kind of beer festival is that?
Yeah, it seems a
You
bit
want,
of a
if you want
con.
some ticket, you see exactly. Like everyone else had it. It was just because mine were complimentary though.
What? So you mean that?
But come on.
So the normal tickets did give you beer.
Yeah, the normal tickets were $50. It was 25 to get in and $25 worth of beer. And then what I got was a ticket. I showed up. I got let in for free, which is worth nothing to me, and given no money. So I was like, oh well, fuck. It's 12 noon and I'm sitting in a bar. I could have done that much closer to home. You know?
Yeah.
I don't have to go all the way fucking down here for this. But they did give me a beer glass, 150 ml beer glass, which came a complimentary one. But you tell me, guy, what the fuck am I supposed to do with 150 ml beer glass?
Take a shot of beer?
Exactly. Take a shot of beer. That's what I've got here. So I'm having a go on. It is actually quite nice to drink out of, but it's pretty ridiculous. You've got to top it up every 5 seconds.
Very dainty.
It is dainty. But so anyway, I had a reasonably fun time though, and I did taste a bunch of beer. I did spend $25 on beer in the mid-afternoon.
Now, I did get an invite to that, but I was at a wrestling event, so I could not attend. But I did wonder when I received that invite if I was your first choice. Because it seemed a little late in the piece to be getting that invite, and I had to suspect that I was definitely not your first choice, and in fact, you'd gone through several other choices and run out of choices, in fact, and then gone, oh, fuck, I guess I just invite Guy.
Well, pretty much, except for you do hold the honor, the prestige of being the first male
the first
that I
guy.
asked. You were the first male that I asked. When I'd given up on my dreams of one day meeting a romantic partner, settling down and starting a family, I then went for my main guy, my number one guy.
You are my number one guy. So that's what happened there. And I
you couldn't go.
Yeah, now of course I couldn't go.
Then I asked a couple of other people.
Too late.
Well, to be fair, I asked everyone too late. I asked even the women that I asked them the day before. You know? So I was just like, I just texted some people. I was like, hey, I know this is super last minute, but you know, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. But look, this is how I live my life, man. I look at my schedule and I go, what am I doing tomorrow? And I have a look and I go, oh, that's what I've got to worry about now. And then I sort it out and I do whatever that thing is. So I was like, what am I doing tomorrow? Beer festival.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I better get a date. I've got 2 tickets. Now, I know that's not how it works in the dating world.
Yeah.
But you need to give people some warning.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's my strategy. Perhaps it's part of what's failing me here.
So I couldn't go. I'm kind of glad I didn't go because it would have only compounded this weight issue. So, you know, the old beer fest.
There was food trucks and lots of beer.
Yeah. Look, it's a recipe for fattiness for sure. Now, I do wonder, you know, because where was this beer festival?
It was at the Cloud, which is a big event function centre down in the heart of the viaduct there. You must know it as an Uber driver.
The Cloud.
It must be the Cloud. It's actually where the mowers. I've been to the mowers there one time, I think,
right,
or the New Zealand Film Awards or some sort of something. But yeah, right in the heart of the harbour, the waterfront in Auckland is the Cloud.
Well, right in the heart of the harbour, the waterfront, Auckland, is also a new community case of COVID-19.
Yep, it's true. It's true.
So, you know, we've been living the good life here again. We're back down to lockdown level 1, which is basically everything the same, except you should, you know, scan yourself in at places. That's really the main thing. Scan yourself in at places. Don't come to work when you're sick. And this new community case popped up. It's just been announced. I think it was announced earlier today, or maybe yesterday. No, earlier today, right? couple of fun facts from it. Now, first of all, they don't know where it's come from. This is just a random person who's got it. Okay, so it's not like it was linked to.
Well, I saw it. I saw a headline though.
Yeah.
That might give you some hint as to where it came from.
Well, it did say that it was next door to an isolation facility, right?
So it was next door to an isolation facility that this person lived at a place next to one of these facilities, and then there had been a fire alarm, and both facilities had been emptied at the same time, and there was people mingling.
That'll do it.
That'll do it.
We've solved the problem.
So
I didn't read that thing. Last I read was just that they were next door to one, not that they'd had a joint fire drill,
fire alarm,
which makes absolutely no sense.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, well, maybe it's bullshit, but that's what the headline said.
Right. For me, it's like these people. We just have to stop sleeping with people in the isolation facilities before they've been cleared. That to me is the issue here, is that we're too blasé about the rocking into the isolation facilities and just sleeping with people that are there. We've got to stop that.
Who's doing
this person?
That? The staff? Oh, the
person.
Oh, like as in what they nipped next door. They fell in love with one of the quarantined patients. You could make a wee short film here.
Romance through the
looking
fence.
at each other through the fence. They're looking at it through the fence. They see each other through the window.
And then
they fall in love.
And then what else?
They have sex.
Yeah, what else?
And she gets COVID.
What else happens through the fence? Cheeky handy. And then community transmission.
Yeah.
It's there again. And so I do wonder if that could be a potential issue there. But this fire drill is much more likely, to be honest. But all I'm saying,
it does seem a little more
all I'm saying
is
we have to choose restraint, because all our loved ones are coming back from overseas. We want to sleep with them immediately while they're still in isolation. No, we just have to hold off. We just have to wait until they've been cleared, and then we won't have any of these issues. So, but one other thing that was interesting about this new community case, and now apparently they're shutting down a section of that area where you were drinking beer merrily only a few days ago. But one of the issues was this person that had that had COVID symptoms was told by their manager to come into fucking work. After they'd said, hey, I'm feeling sick, I've kind of got these like COVID-like symptoms, and they're like, yeah, you'll be sweet as, just come in and infect us all, please. Like when the whole thing about this.
Well, it's complacency, isn't it?
It is.
This is what's happening here. It's complacency.
But what's weird to me is that, hang on a second. To me, whenever I hear I'm a bit sick, it's like saying I have COVID right now, and you want to stay the hell away. That to me, that's code. It doesn't matter, obviously, if they have it or not. It's code for I may have it, and therefore, to me, there is, and this is what we've been told at our work as well, is if you're sick, stay home. Like that's the number one. That's the number one for any place within Auckland, within New Zealand. If you're feeling sick, stay home. If you have symptoms, get tested, and obviously stay home till you get those, the results of those, the swab back sort of thing. And yet this guy was like, or this guy or girl was like, hey, sweet, no, you should come in. What did you say? Symptoms. What kind of symptoms? Sort of like sore throat, bit of a cough, can't taste things that well, What other symptoms? Well, basically the COVID ones. Oh, yeah, cool. Well, sweet ass, coming to work then. If you just have if you just have a cold,
just wear a mask.
If you have a moderate cold, I would say don't come in. If you've got the sniffles, don't come in. Just don't fucking come in. And to be honest, it has made it a situation, or at least I thought up until I heard this incredible story of dumbassness, dumbassedness. Dumbassery, that, like I thought this was like kind of a given, like you have an automatic get out of jail free card now. Anytime you want to take a day off work, you don't want to come to school, whatever, you just go, I'm feeling a bit sick actually, feeling a bit sick, and everyone goes, whoa, okay, but
you better
stay home because we don't take any risks. Do not take risks. Stay home. Stay at home. Name of my new movie. Stay at home, right? And so that was really the most concerning thing about the whole ordeal to me. If the fire alarm thing is true, that's even more concerning. But we'll see if that's.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be. I reckon it's got to be the fire alarm.
Which again is like the pure insanity of like, cool, we've all got to get out of this building. Okay, get that.
I think it was just something that nobody had prepared for. Nobody had thought that would happen, that a fire alarm would go off.
Which, fire alarms do go off all the time.
They do,
in buildings.
But I guess, like these are unprecedented times, right? You got to think of everything nowadays, don't you? The millions of different ways that the virus could escape from a hotel with a chain link fence.
Some heads are gonna.
It's a chain link fence. The virus is like a bloody I don't even know, micrometer long.
Yeah, it's all a bit crazy. So now we're all waiting. We're waiting until tomorrow, right? To see how far this has gone. And they're doing some frantic genome sequencing to try and assess, what has happened here, where this has come from. So, it will be interesting to see how that situation develops.
Well, I don't want to do another lockdown.
You have mentioned that quite a few times.
Just not doing it.
You're just going to walk around the place while everyone else is at home.
I'm just going to break into
pubs. You're going to go to the bar where you're going to break into the bar where you work and just start putting pints on the bar and just go, I refuse. You're going to be one of those.
To be ruled by fear.
You're going to be one of those. The 5Gs. I'm not having it. The 5Gs won't get me.
I've got a concerning, development, which is that so I've started a new job, right? I've got lots of jobs, but I've started a new job, and I worked for them last night. I worked 11 p.m. until 5 a.m. It was 6 hours of hard yakka, basically like laboring, because I was putting up and down AV equipment and, lights and speakers and, dismantling things and, packing them up into boxes, and
sounds like the opposite of what you like to do in your job.
Well, that's fair. No, that's fair. It's not something I like to do per se. And moving around a lot of heavy things. I was using tools. It was all very manly, and I was sweating profusely. The entire time until 5 a.m. when I finally ate some McDonald's and went to bed. So
keep it healthy.
Anyway, keep it healthy. So anyway, I've got a new colleague, right? So I'm brand new there, and this colleague, he's just came from the UK, and he's got a persistent, suspicious dry cough all night. Yeah, and he was coughing. It was quite bad. It was quite loud. It was quite a bad cough.
And he's just come out of quarantine.
And he's just come out of quarantine.
Really? Yeah. Oh man, I bet that you were really shooting some daggers at him over those coughs.
Well, yeah. Well, I was just a little concerned. I was like, "Ooh, okay," because it's quite a coincidence, you know. Because what happens if So he passes his test on day 3. He passes his test on day 12. Or whatever it is, day 3, day 12, I think it is. But then as he's walking out the door, he touches the door handle, which has recently had someone pass through entering the hotel. So he touches the door handle on the way out, and it just bad luck. Somebody on the way in has just got off the plane, who's entering the facility and who has COVID, has touched the door handle. He touches it on his way out he walks. 3 days later, he starts getting a sniffle. Next thing you know, he's walking around coughing all over the shit that I'm moving about.
Or also, he could be one of those
exerting himself.
He could be one of those ones
sweating.
The ones, because one of our community transmissions was someone who it was whatever the virus. Yeah, so it's a tricky virus. We don't know what the virus. The virus is what we don't know what the virus does. It's a tricky virus. But anyway, it basically lies dormant. We don't know where it comes from. We don't want to talk. Corona.
Is this a Trump?
I don't think science knows. Okay.
Well, obviously we have to talk about Trump because our last.
That's where we're leading. But I guess that last thing is your new colleague has maybe given you the virus.
It's within the realms of possibility.
Asymptomatic. Yeah.
Well, if he's coughing, he's not asymptomatic.
That's true. Well, he was presumably when he. Did you ask him about the cough? Was there any questions posed about the cough?
Nah, not really.
That's the problem with New Zealanders. We're all so polite.
Yeah, very polite.
You didn't want to.
I mean, he did acknowledge the cough at one point, but I didn't ask him. I didn't go
that start in relation to
you had that exactly.
Did he? Has he just recently come?
I think so. I haven't asked him.
Right.
I don't know how, but yeah, when I got introduced to him, they were like, he's just come from the UK. He's fresh off the boat. And then they were like, well, I mean, not just out of the UK, as in not, he's been here at least 2 weeks type thing.
You go, not just off the boat. He's actually been here 14 days. This is his 15th day.
Yeah. But,
nothing to worry about.
Nothing
to be concerned. He's been here the whole of isolation. He's been here the whole time he had to quarantine at the hotel. So he's not just here. He didn't get here yesterday. Well, that's interesting. Well, I guess, look, we hope that we don't have any further community issues. Obviously, that manager should probably lose their job for inviting Corona back into the house, because I just don't understand if you're sick in these times, in these Corona times, when we're the only country where we have this thing where we kind of have to keep the virus at 0%. Why would you ever go, it's a good idea, just fuck it, come in? Like it just doesn't really. None of it makes sense.
I think it's because we're complacent. We're like, well, it's not in here anymore. Well, it's not. We've eliminated it, and we'll hear about it if it's around. We'll hear about it, so it's probably not around.
But we do hear about
it. We're not really wearing masks anymore and shit. I was at the supermarket today. I wasn't wearing a mask. Nobody's wearing a mask.
Not too many mask wearers going on. Look, I'll also say that to me, if I had to speculate, if I had to wildly speculate with absolutely no basis or proof or any type of evidence whatsoever, I would suggest that manager is a lazy so-and-so who gets this person to do all their work for them. And they were basically like, shit, if this person don't come in, I've got to do my job. Yeah. And as we know, managers traditionally don't like to do that.
Well, no, if they can avoid it. That's the point of reaching a managerial position.
Is that they push all their actual responsibilities down onto the lower paid people, while they get paid more for not doing what they're paid to do. That is the traditional manager role, at least here in New Zealand.
Like a slave driver.
It's a rite of passage as a manager.
No, your job is to keep up productivity in the workers for the system. It's all for the system, you see. You got to keep the system functioning. So you need these mid-level people which bully the ones below to get them to be productive, like slave drivers with a whip.
So
it's just the modern day corporate version of it.
So that's what this guy or girl was, as we were saying, wildly speculating about. That's what I'm suggesting. And that's why they said, you come in, because they didn't want to, for one day in their fucking whole work week, have to do some actual work. Fucking lazy managers. God damn it. Putting us all at risk. Lazy managers is putting us all at risk now.
Well, I do hope that it's all under control, because I really can't. I can't do another one, because aside from the mental health and the living in this little oppressive room and all of that stuff, all on my lonesome, but also financially, like after the first lockdown, I came out and I was like, all right, things are gonna start picking up, and they did. And it was like, okay, cool, things are picking up. I'm not having as much work as I did have, but I've still got work. And then after the second one, I was like, all right, cool. It took a wee while again, but things started to pick up a little. It's still, things are a little rockier this time. They haven't picked up as quickly as they did after the first one.
True.
And so what happens now is if it goes under again for another 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then it takes another 3 weeks or 4 weeks to recover, and start picking up again, and then who knows what level it's going to pick up to. What the fuck am I going to do?
Yeah, well, would be.
I'm just not having it. What I'm
Yeah.
saying
Is you,
to the coronavirus is that I'm just not going to fucking tolerate it.
well, you
Don't come in here. You're not welcome.
you're going to turn into one of those people running around shouting about their rights and.
Oh, well, there was an old guy today that was like, I don't know why he started talking to me. I was like, don't talk to me. I mean, if there's anybody here to talk to, it's not me.
Gotta hate crazy people talking to you. It's always a drag.
Yeah, well, he was like, he was straight into it. He's like, oh, this COVID conspiracy, and it's this COVID lie, and he was like, death's coming for you anyway. It doesn't matter. It's coming for us all. I'm looking forward to it.
That's the worst line of argument that I could possibly think of.
Well, he was an insane old man, I guess. I assume.
Death's coming for us all, so I fucking welcome it. You go, well, maybe you do, old man, but I've got some living to do.
Yeah, well, no, he's not welcoming COVID. He doesn't think COVID's real.
Death.
But he's welcoming death.
Yeah.
He's like, look, we're all gonna,
and he's looking forward to
anyway.
It.
We're all gonna die anyway.
Oh Jesus!
But he also said, like, because he didn't bring his one card, which is a discount card that you use at the supermarket.
Rookie shopping mistake.
And he
For
goes,
someone so old, he should be a bit more knowledgeable about his shopping.
He should, and he was like, I'm not gonna. I don't have. I didn't bring my card. Don't worry about it. Just it'll just charge me more. It doesn't matter. You only live once anyway. We'll die anyway one day. I was like, all right, this guy's fucking dramatic.
You only live once when you don't bring your one card into Countdown. You only live once.
Well, I think he was saying that we all die in the end anyway, and the amount of money that passed through your hands is irrelevant.
You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you from Countdown.
I think he actually might have said that. I think he might have actually said you can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you from the Countdown supermarket, is what the end of his quote that we shall now use.
Shout out to Liam Hegarty, who wants to hear our opinions on the post-Trump world. He wants to know. He's hanging out for some updates after our last episode, which was on the eve of the election. Yes. Now we know the results. Yes. Liam said he is going to sponsor an episode by going to paypal.com and using the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com to buy us some beers.
Okay.
He's gonna sponsor some beers on the show at some point. So shout out to Liam. And so I guess we better have a chat about the post-Trump world, right?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, I was really worried because it was neck and neck there for a while. In terms of the voters, and it was a relatively split, election, and I was really worried because, you and I have both seen some fucking dumb presidents come into power, especially because I was like, we've seen this before. This happened 4 years ago. The same fucking thing happened 4 years ago, and it's happening again, and it's happening right now, and it's way worse because there's way more. America is in a way worse situation. There's way more pressing matters for them as a country to address because of the deconstruction of democracy through a president like Trump. There's so many problems, and now we could have 4 more years of this, which I think, as you mentioned on the last podcast, we've gone from this brittle, frayed country on the verge of collapsing in on itself to just total devastation and destruction. If it was another 4 years, that would have this butterfly effect out to many other countries and the world at large. And
it'll fuck up my investing,
and it's going to ruin your stocks.
Certainly fuck up my investing.
It's going to ruin your shares. It's going to ruin the Tesla shares. So that was also another concern. So for me, I was like, shit. But as it slowly started to, the tide started to turn, and this great sense of relief washed over me. And I would I'm not normally super invested in obviously what's happening in other countries, but I am so offended by Trump as a human being and as a president as well. And we've talked about this before, but how unpresidential he is in every capacity. Every single thing he does is an affront to the position that he fills. And so I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the concept that America was so stupid that they would do it twice. I couldn't handle the concept that someone like him could like continue to be in a position of power when you'd think that this whole coronavirus, this whole 4 years, had exposed his incompetence over and over again in, you know, numerous ways. And yet, you know, so I was very grateful, and I did watch some of the sort of like the people in America reacting to it and talking about it. And I'll be real, I got a little bit emotional. I shed a tear over their relief.
Trump made you cry.
Trump made me cry like a little bitch. Well, actually,
that would make him happy.
To know that
Trump.
I should rephrase that. Trump being voted out made me cry.
Made you cry with relief.
Yeah, it was tears of. It wasn't tears of joy. It was tears of relief, really.
And I was relief and empathy.
Yeah, empathy, and
with the Americans,
with the poor sons of bitches over there, who've been subjugated to this stuff and
subjected to.
Yeah, what's subjugated then?
Well, subjugated, I guess still works, but it's like when you go in and like you sort of crush a people and hold them down, you've subjugated the population.
I felt like
you've broken their will.
I felt like that's what I was.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Right. You've been subjected to. You said subjugated to. I don't know what the two fits now.
Okay, subjugated.
You just say subjugated.
Subjugated.
They've been subjugated, but they haven't been. The spirit of the people is strong in the Americans. They're fierce and proud.
Well, I mean, what I'm loving too, and this is the thing, like, well, what do you think? That's my initial takeaway. What's your thoughts
on all of that?
Did you? How much interest did you watch it with? Were you sort of on tenterhooks about it, or what?
Well, I posted a status 4 years ago.
Oh, right.
With my predictions.
Yes.
And my prediction was that there would be a large swing to the left in revulsion and revilement after, you know, seeing what Trump would do in his presidency. And so I always felt like, you know, he was going to not get back in.
Right.
So I was reasonably confident. But I was concerned because time and time again, he surprised me.
He does.
By, you know, the very fact that he managed to stay in for 4 years and stay out of jail and all of that stuff. I mean, this is going to be so interesting now when he's obviously out of office and prosecutable for all of his crimes. It's going to be very interesting to find out the scandals of what really happened and what he was really up to and exactly how filthy it went.
It's going to be,
and it's all going to come out. It's all going to come out in the wash eventually. It's going to be hugely studied, and it's all going to come out the wash, and we're going to see that fat fucker swing.
It's quite delicious, really. That, you know, thinking about that. And also, you're so right. It was like, how did we get to this point? You know, like, exactly. How did he not get ejected from the office promptly? Yeah. And also, I think, you know, the shocking thing from the outside world is, how is he not held accountable for his lies? Like, that's, you know, this is a constitutional issue where you're misleading the people of the country. You know, that you're meant to have. You clearly don't have their best interests at heart, and there's you know, so many stories. But I think that what's interesting, and you sort of touched upon that too, is that in the not too distant future, he will be held accountable for a lot of these things. Probably tax evasion first, and then you know, collusion with Russians and whatever else. You know,
let's not forget the bestiality rings.
So
all the rest of it. That fat fuck, he's so disgusting. It's going to be really interesting. He's not going to have to hide it all. There's no way. He's going to be the most studied person in the world, and he's clearly a criminal.
Yeah.
And so it's all going to come out. And it's just going to be so delicious. And I just can't wait to see like all the Republicans and all the conservative Christians as they all now try to, you know, distance themselves from him. And it'll be happening, obviously, straight away. The rats will be abandoning ship now. All these people that were riding on him succeeding, who did horrible things because they, you know, thought he would, and they got into bed with the devil, or the devil's incompetent sidekick, and and now they've stuck with this thing of like being associated with the biggest joke in history.
And
This despicable clown.
And I think that's a great point, is that all of these people that supported him, well, as this new evidence comes to light and he's more and more prosecuted for all these things that he's done, will slowly have to shut the fuck up. So we'll have these little pockets of fucking dipshits slowly shutting the fuck up and not, spewing all this fucking ridiculous bullshit all over the internet and stuff, because at a certain point this damning evidence will be sort of irrefutable, and so that is going to be a joy to watch. And I do think that, like, sort of in the not too distant future, maybe 10 years from now, right, they're going to make a sort of a movie or a series of movies about Trump that's going to explore this period of time. And it's going to be like, it's going to be one of those things where, like, as we look back at Hitler and be like, how did he have a whole nation under his spell to do these reprehensible things over and over again? It's not on the same scale, obviously, but I think that, like, as we look back in history and we see this stuff documented, people the world over, including people in America, will look back at this time, at this person, at this man, this period, and go, how the fuck did all of this happen? And we need to, and what can we learn from it, in the same way that we now look at a figure like Hitler. Because
and learn from him.
Your best mate Hitler, who you like to
learn from him. You are saying exactly what I said the other week. He who doesn't learn history is doomed to repeat it.
So I think there's going to be but Trump is going to be a case study of corruption and the sort of erosion of democracy that will be held up at, like, schools and stuff, including American schools, where they go, so this can you believe this guy was the president? This fucking insane person that did all this shit was the president, and here's how it happened, and that's going to be like a thing, and that will be nice to, as you say, learn from.
Yes, well, the one thing that does concern me about learning from Trump is that there is going to be the next face of fascism, which won't be as obvious.
Right.
Because there'll be lessons learned here. What's the lesson learned? 50% of Americans are racist or cool with racism. Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we've learned. 50%. 50% voted for him again after everything he said and done, or close to 50%, whatever it was, voted for him again after all he's said and done. That's there. That's a market. A big, angry market that needs to be tapped into. And they're stupid. They're the big, angry, stupid market. Now, someone else is going to come along, and they're going to be a lot more subtle. They're going to be they're going to be better. They're not going to be like Trump is too much of a bumbling idiot. Someone's going to come along who's more of a Hitler. Trump's more of a Mussolini.
Right. I thought Mussolini was kind of smart, still smartish guy.
Well, he still became a dictator of a nation.
Right.
You've got to be quite smart.
I don't know enough about him.
He's kind of clownish. And his performances were kind of like big, and he sort of moved his head like a weird dude. And then he was repeatedly getting, like, bailed out by Hitler, as well. Like, he was made a lot of serious mistakes during the war that caused issues for Hitler.
Well,
what I'm saying is that the next one, the Hitler that's still coming, will be much scarier and much more calculating and careful and subtle.
It's true.
So we've got to keep an eye out for that.
We've got to look out for Hitler. And Harley,
look out for Hitler too.
Harley, who specializes in Hitler knowledge, will be able to point it out. Because he loves Hitler so much, he will be able to single the new Hitler out and call attention to it through this podcast. So look forward to that.
If I pointed out, Darth Vader to you, or someone who had Darth Vader-esque things, you wouldn't say it was because I love Darth Vader. You'd say it's because I'm a smart guy who's giving you a warning. I'm helping you. Stay away from Darth Vader. But I don't love Darth Vader. but I am knowledgeable about Darth Vader.
You know him well. You know him.
I know.
Better the devil you know.
Better the devil you know. It's true. It's true.
Um,
So yeah, and the other thing that concerns me about all this, Liam, is that it's kind of a sad that, like, on the one hand we're celebrating, obviously Trump's out. It's so lovely to see him be a single term president, because that seems like the type of thing that would hurt his ego.
Yes.
You know, so it's so lovely to go like, oh man, it's, you know. And then did you read up about that press conference between the crematorium and the dildo shop?
It was amazing.
Oh, isn't that just brilliant? Isn't that just the most brilliant way for it to end? Especially after Rudy Giuliani had been caught with his hand down his pants on Borat 2, of all things, on Borat 2. What is just this is just insane. The sim has just gone mad now. You can't make this shit up. So Rudy Giuliani gets caught with his hands down his pants on Borat 2, of all things, and then he goes and does a press conference at the Four Seasons landscaping company out in the fucking industrial area, between a dildo shop and a crematorium. What a brilliant end to that story.
Oh, amazing. Not with a...
That's going to make such a good movie. You can just imagine that scene. Who's going to play Rudy?
That's the capper. Not with a bang, but a whimper. That's where it... But it also, like, and we should, when we're talking about all this stuff, we should definitely mention the fact that Trump is not going without a fight, obviously.
He's not going without a petty childish tantrum, but he doesn't have any legal grounds for any of these unsubstantiated claims. He's just making a fool of himself.
It is, and that's beautiful to see, I think, because this is one of the first times that, like, his lies and his sort of misdirection normally pays off. Like, the whole deviation from how, hey, look, it's not my fault that, 1 million people are infected with COVID and all these people have died and I didn't handle it well. You know, like,
I take no responsibility.
Yeah, like, all of that stuff. And now he's sort of doing his rhetoric. He's doing his spiel. And for once, now that he's no longer the president, really, everyone's like, yeah, fuck off, mate. Just fuck right off. Apart from those dancing Trump supporters and stuff, but like it would also, he's out, he's gone, and he can't fuck things up too much longer. But it is just so embarrassing that he's the only president to not graciously formalize the new president. Like that he's the only person in history that has, essentially, if I cried like a little bitch, he whined like a little bitch, kind of, stamping his feet and just acting like a fucking 5-year-old would when they find out they lost. And the great thing about it is, it's such a big loss. It's going to fuck up the whole rest of his life. And he's clearly never lost really before. He's been too rich to lose. He's always wriggled out of whatever the fuck it was. And, he's had businesses flounder and stuff, but it hasn't affected him. But this loss will greatly affect him, and it will continue to affect him and the ramifications for the rest of his life. And that is a beautiful thing. It's
shout out to Clucar01 was all I was going to say. 01 on the live stream, who has started following us. Shout out to Clucar01, who also points out that the adult shop that he was next to was called Fantasy Island.
Apropos. So Trump is gone. It's going to be great. It's going to be great to see his fall from grace. And it's also going to be cool to like, because so often in life we see, and essentially this is what's been going on for the last 4 years, is evil win, right? Evil triumph, because the world is not fair. It's cold and indifferent, and some other quote from your poem. And therefore, there's no rules that will say that, karma's a bitch and it's going to catch up to you and all that stuff. None of that is really true. Jimmy Savile died,
A free man.
free and beloved.
Was he free?
Yeah, free and beloved entertainer at the time of his death, who had for 60 years or more perpetuated horrific crimes on mentally disabled, vulnerable, and potentially dead people. And so, and the same perhaps with Michael Jackson, allegedly. And so all of this shit is not always how it goes. So it's nice to see it going right and good prevailing on a large scale, or better, if not good, better. And that's cool to see, because it's good for humanity. It's good for people to keep hope alive, and it's good for all the all the smart, intelligent people that have been battling under duress for the last 4 years.
Yeah, well, the thing that bothers me is just that we're also relieved, right? Which is obviously we're very relieved, but I'm also a little bit still kind of disappointed that it's Biden.
Sure.
Because it's like, okay, cool. So we're sort of celebrating, like, going back to the status quo a little, and it's like, what we need is a leader like Bernie in a time like this, the new Bernie, whatever it is.
BS.
And so it's, I mean, climate change is still here. Climate change is still here, right? And now we've wasted 4 more years, and we've made it worse in many ways, pulling out of the climate
Paris Agreement
Accord or whatever it was, all of that type of thing. It's like, okay, so cool. So now we're in a much worse place than we were 4 years ago. If you look at how much carbon is in the atmosphere, it's worse than it was. If you look at all the symptoms of whatever, it's all 4 years more advanced now. And we've got to go back and undo all of this, bureaucratic bumbling to get, back on track and make up for the bad things that Trump has done. So,
well, Joe Biden does appear to have
got to get back to work,
Joe Biden does appear to have a very aggressive clean energy policy. Now, the issue is whether or not he can get that through, or through Congress or whatever. That will be the battle. Because
isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that ridiculous? This man wants to make the air clean, the air that we breathe,
and he also wants.
Oh, that's a bit controversial.
And the other controversial thing is, like, look, clean energy is going to be a big business. So even from an economic standpoint, this is going to become more and more of a big business that we, as Americans, as an economic leader, need to embrace and work out how to do better than everyone else and make money from. And yet, and as you said, don't know about that. I don't know about planning for the future and the future generations. That sounds a bit inconvenient right now today. I'm not sure if I'm on board with that, Mr. Biden. So, that is a bit sad, but hopefully Joe can get it done.
I had another shout out.
Okay.
Shout out to Ben Fowler. I can picture him on his couch right now in his bachelor pad, his sweet bachelor pad, leaning back.
Single, ready to mingle.
With the show playing on the big screen in the lounge. That's where he watches from. He watches the Guy and Harley podcast on the big screen in his lounge. And so shout out to Ben Fowler. They say that Jesus knows how many hairs are on your head, right? But Ben Fowler, with his big screen TV, he knows how many pores are on my nose.
Yeah.
That's even better than Jesus.
He's got a sweet apartment that he is not renting.
Yeah.
So he's a man of wealth, leisure and luxury.
And he's a CD160 listener, a 5160 listener as well.
Yeah.
Religiously.
Yeah. So good on you, Ben. He needs to come and do some more editing for us. That's what he needs to do.
Absolutely. Well, I did get some bad news, which is that YouTube has changed its policies and wiggled things around and demonetized the Pigville YouTube channel.
Man, that's a big blow.
It's a huge blow, especially because we were only just now finally starting to release a few things and actually generate some proper revenue. Like from the older trailer had 20,000 views that grabbed a few dollars there. No caller ID, that's up. We've just recently put up Asylum. We're going to start putting out soon. We're going to start putting out the older the movie behind the scenes videos, one of which is completed.
Which Ben
so,
edited Asylum. We should also just mention Ben cut Asylum. So shout out to Ben for that lovely piece of content. So how did we get? What was the reasoning for our demonetization?
No, so what it is basically we were monetized already years ago before they changed their policy and made it harder for people to get monetized. Right. But we were already in the door, you know. So we were like, sweet as, even though our stats are not that great. You know, that's fine. You know, like we're in. It's all good. And then for years we didn't really put anything on the channel, and so it kind of didn't really generate anything. I see. Then recently we started generating a little bit more. We put Immy the Vegan up and all that as well. Bunch of content there, and then they finally kind of caught up with us, basically.
Like the IRS or the IRD, they caught up with us.
So they were like, so there was not really any proper explanation except for like the usual, like, we've changed our policies and, you know, but don't worry, you're welcome to still apply for monetization. And so what happens is we have to get the 4,000 hours and the 1,000 subscribers like every other channel, just like the Guy and Harley podcast channel and the Immy the Vegan channel. We need to get 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers. Now we've got about 20,000 subscribers, so we're good there. Right. And then our watch time was like 2,700 hours in the last 12 months. Okay. And so we need 4,000 in the last 12 months. So we just got to get 1,300 more
this year.
That's gonna be like within any 12-month period. Right. Any 12-month period, you've got to have 4,000 hours.
Shit, that's in hours. We've already got minutes of footage.
Yeah, well, I know. That's why I thought the Guy and Harley podcast would be great, because the show's long. So somebody watches it for an hour or two. That's actually quite good for us, you know? So 5 viewers watching 5 hours of content is, you know, maybe better than, you know, whatever, 50 people watching 1 minute worth.
Well, this is a great example of why you can't invest in only one revenue stream, because especially when it comes to like sort of the internet and social media, because really this is just a YouTube being fickle fuckers, right? I mean, really that's all this is. This is YouTube just being like, what's going on today? Demonetize. It doesn't have enough. Demonetize. Oh, sure, they've been you know, around since fucking 2000 and whatever.
Literally 2006. We were one of the earliest people on YouTube.
Sure, they've been early adopters. Sure, their classic, disgusting hairy man,
which they took off the other day,
was an iconic video that generated many views for them at a time when they did not get many views. Yeah, I mean, maybe
no, it's true. We
were pioneers of viral.
We were
content,
very early viral content creators.
Yeah.
And then Disgusting Hairy Man would have gone proper viral, except for it got flagged as adult content, which meant that suddenly you had to. It was getting 1,000 views a day in 2006.
Yeah.
You know, and then then it got flagged as adult, which meant you had to sign in. You can't just watch it anymore. So I can't just go get sent around in an email at work. Hey Bob, check this out. Disgusting Hairy Man.
Check out this hairy guy masturbating to fatty porn. Check out this classic.
We were really ahead of our time.
We were way ahead of our time. We were
so
classic material.
Yeah, so that really fucked me off. And then YouTube fucked me off for another couple of reasons recently. One of which was that they said that that Immy the Vegan episode 0, the prequel episode, the proof of concept episode, that it was adult content.
Why?
And I was exactly. I was like, what the fuck? This is like literally like a PG show about a vegan woman looking for love in Auckland. And she has a guests over for some dinner and they talk about some stuff. And then I think it might have even said it was, I can't remember, but definitely adult content. And then so I was like, okay, so I emailed them and I was like, what's the fucking story, you cockheads? And they were like, oh yeah, sorry. And so they unflagged they unage restricted it. But the other one that got flagged was the shaving scene from the Guy and Harley sitcom.
Beautiful moment.
We did a sitcom. We did a sitcom a few years ago, and we did a parody scene of Ghost, where Patrick
Swayze,
Swayze and
Demi Moore,
actress Demi Moore are doing pottery, and our scene is very similar to that, except for you're shaving my hairy back. It's very hilarious, and so it's not anything adult though. We don't show like any genitals or anything like that. But you're shaving my back.
Just another guy shaving another guy's back.
That's all it is. It's a guy shaving a guy's back with some romantic music. That's literally all it is. Literally, that's what it is.
Nothing sexual.
Now you tell me
nothing weird.
Which part of that is sexual? Exactly.
Nothing weird about that.
Exactly. So that's what I said to all of them. I said, look, this is a parody of Ghost. What the fuck are you on about?
Two hetero dudes.
Yeah. And so anyway, they didn't reply about that one yet. So I feel like they're not going to de-age restrict that one.
They left you on scene for that one.
Yeah.
YouTube left you on scene, the bastards.
Oh, fucking YouTube. And I'm sick of Facebook too nowadays.
Well, so is a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's also some consternation about Trump's posting on Facebook and a call for Zuckerberg to take action about this whole, because now, which is great, but it's so shocking that it's taken so long. But essentially, both Twitter and Facebook, I believe, change their policies around posting so that if you post something that is blatantly untrue, like almost all of Trump's tweets, you'll get a notification with the tweet that basically says this is, largely known to not be true or disproven or refuted or whatever pops up. And so, which is great. But why haven't they been doing that for the last fucking 4 years when he's been talking about the coronavirus and all that shit? Like, it's, it's a little too late. It's almost like they were kind of like, how's the voting?
Well, they did on Twitter. Twitter
got on it early, but some of his tweetings have been...
they're definitely troublesome.
Troublesome tweets.
But he has, this whole phenomenon has come around because of him.
Yeah,
you gotta remember.
That's true.
Like, this whole thing, all of this stuff is majorly influenced by him. All of this, like, QAnon and all this like crazy shit is like he's benefiting from that's the crowd he's tapping into.
He's the master bullshit artist, and they've never had a president that has lied so blatantly to the American people so publicly. Except maybe like fucking Nixon, and even then not as consistently and as often. Right. So they probably, and Nixon didn't have Twitter back then. So
no, he did lie to the world about cannabis, though. That wanker.
What did he say about?
Here I am.
What did he say about? What did he say about cannabis?
Nixon was just the one that launched. Well, he was the one that launched the war on drugs.
Right.
You know, and killed literally millions of people over the last 50 years with the war on drugs. It's all him. A lot of blood on his hands. No, it wasn't all him. No. It's him and other people like him. But yeah. It's these fucking conservatives. Killers. They're all murderers, all these conservatives.
It sounded like a little bit of a Trump statement.
Might be right.
We should probably just mention that Older is still on the ascent.
That's good.
We've just gotten 2 more critic reviews, a 9 out of 10 stars and a 5 out of 5 stars. I've made the perfect film. Now,
cool.
As we may
if Klukar01 on the live stream or any of the other listeners would like to know anything about Older, we are of course talking about our second feature film, Older the Movie, and you can go right now to olderfilm.com.
Yep.
www.olderfilm.com, and there's a big buy now button, and you can see how to watch it in your region, and there's even a free option. You can watch it for free legally on Tubi, or you can watch it, you can buy it yourself. There's all different ways there. There's whatever works for you. So go to olderfilm.com.
So
there's no excuse to pirate it nowadays.
Yeah, there is no excuse. Just help us out. Watch it the free ways that you can. So 5 out of 5. Now, as you'll recall, that's the second perfect film we've made, because I Survived the Zombie Holocaust also did receive a 5 out of 5 star rating
nice.
for through one of the critics. So obviously, if you get 1 5 out of 5, that means that you only believe that review and you hold on to that review for the rest of your life. That's what you have to do. You ignore the 2-star ones and the 1-star ones. Don't let those stay with you. Hold on to the 5 stars. No. And
it's true.
So a 5-star and the 9 out of 10, can't really complain. So I could read some stuff for
well, we better post those
for the
on
glory. Well, we've got to stagger them out. We're getting so many good reviews. We've got to pace it all out. Don't want to blow our good review wad too soon, because you never know when the good review train will dry up. It could dry up tomorrow. That could be the last good review we get. We just don't know.
It's true. We should probably repost the same review.
Oh, absolutely.
More than once.
Oh, I've got to. Yeah. And also, I will say that also means that we now have 5 critic reviews, which brings us to, and shout out to Stu Munro, who gave us that 5 out of 5. So big shout out to him. Thank you very much, Stu. I'm glad you enjoyed it. He was basically like, I hate romantic dramas, but this one got me. I liked it. It was so good that it transcended my hate of romantic dramas for me to really enjoy it, and it's well worth a watch. So thank you very much, Stu Munro, who, do I have his details here? I can look it up. I think it's, I'll come back to that, to his site, which you can see, but we'll post links to it and all that sort of thing. But thank you very much for that. So that means that 5 critic reviews. Now, technically, that means that we could be eligible for Rotten Tomatoes now.
Ooh.
Which would be good. And we also got that 9 out of 10 star review from Film Threat, which is also a Rotten Tomatoes verified critic. So I'm not sure when this Rotten Tomato event's going to happen, but it's important for us to get on Rotten Tomatoes. It's all part of the algorithms, people. It's all about being part of the algorithm. So Get On My Damn Level website is Stu Munro's movie review site. Get On My Damn Level. And apparently, we're on his damn level. So yep. So,
oh, great.
So,
olderfilm.com.
Olderfilm.com if you want to see. I did use it as a case study for my students. I don't think any of them decided to watch the film. Students.
Yeah, I'll give them a chance.
Cheap.
Give them a chance. Give them the free version. Give them the Tubi version.
The free version, just about. So that's cool. So we're still on the older campaign trail, and I've also got a podcast that I just did recently this weekend, which is the New Zealand Entertainment Podcast. We've also got a link to that on the older Facebook page, so you can check that out, where I discuss the making of Older with Wal Reed, who's a friend of the show. He interviewed us.
I did share it. on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley.
He interviewed us for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust as well. So nice guy. So appreciate the coverage, and just got to keep going up the algorithms. Keep getting those star ratings, those reviews, those that coverage. It all adds up. It's grassroots, the very definition of grassroots. There's 2 pieces of grass. That's me and you. We're the roots,
and we're rooting,
and we're rooting around for more reviews. So, yep. So thank you very much for those people that have helped us out there.
Yeah, indeed. So, how are your notes looking?
My notes, look, I think we've covered almost everything, but I will just say I do have a TV show recommendation.
Okay.
So I've recently been working on the color grade of the new short film, Stay at Home, which is now coming together. So I just received a work in progress sound mix and a work in progress color grade today. But our colorist, Dave McLaren, who is never a listener of the show and will never hear this, but shout out to Dave McLaren. He's a great colorist. He works for Big Tree Studios and Color Space. There is 2 companies, and he's done some of the biggest films. Well, he's done, in fact, the biggest New Zealand film, Hunt for the Wilder People. He graded that, but he still, despite his success, deigns to also grade some smaller indie fare and support the struggling creatives such as ourselves. And he was like, have you seen The Boys? Now, have you seen The Boys, Harley?
I've seen The Lost Boys.
No, this is vampires. That's vampires. This I'm talking The Boys, which are superheroes, but not quite the superheroes you were expecting. So The Boys is based on a comic book, which I also started reading, and then I think I ran out of the guy only gave me like the first 2 episodes. So The Boys is a TV series. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's basically about, a world in which superheroes exist, except these superhero
another one.
Well, no, I think this is where it's different, and this is where you'll really like it. For starters, it's
set during World War II.
You would love that. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it doesn't involve your favorite ingredient, World War II and Hitler. It does not involve those 2 key things that make you immediately watch them. Put down whatever you're doing and watch them.
I'm a lot more interested in World War II than I am in Hitler.
Well,
Hitler is just one
he's a facet.
He's an integral part of World War II. He's an integral part of World War II. You can't be interested in World War II and not know about Hitler. It's ridiculous. It's like watching Star Wars and not knowing about Darth Vader. Right? It's the exact same thing.
Okay.
The Lion King and not knowing about Scar.
So anyway, so The Boys is set in this world where superheroes exist, and here's the key crucial ingredient. The superheroes are humans on the inside, right? Their brains work like humans. They don't work super heroically. As in, if we look at comic books and we look at the way, superheroes are portrayed as do-gooders, as moral high compasses, as incorruptible, right? That's how superheroes are looked at. But the reality is, if you had superpowers, you would probably be a sociopath, right? You're essentially a god walking among men. What would that make you? Would that make you a nice guy? Has anyone with power, like supreme amounts of power and zero culpability, remained a nice guy? Not so much. So the idea is, what are all these superheroes really like? They're kind of creeps and assholes and sociopaths, right? And the more powerful they are, the worse they are. And so it's about essentially this group of superheroes and kind of how to outwardly to the public, there's still these beacons of hope. They're doing all these things, but inwardly, behind the scenes are terrible, terrible people. And it follows them, and then it also follows a group of people trying to take them down because they sort of understand the inherent danger. And this is kind of like what happens if Batman vs. Superman was good and made sense. So the idea is, Batman was like, look, you can't have a super guy just flying the fuck around doing whatever the fuck he want and like blowing up buildings and shit in his super fights. That's too dangerous. So we need to get rid of this guy, which is all actually makes perfect logical sense. The execution of that idea was what was shit, and how at the end they became mates, and how, it all just got silly, right? Whereas this is like, there's definitely no one's going to be becoming mates here. So I've watched the first 5 episodes. It's very, very good. My favorite.
Where's it available?
Available on Amazon Prime.
So once you finish watching Older the movie on Amazon Prime,
head over and watch The Boys,
and giving it a 10-star,
5-star review.
How many 5-star review? Giving it a 5-star review on Amazon Prime after watching Older, our second feature film, you could then head along and watch The Boys.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that, and I think I'm very confident that you would actually really enjoy it as an because it is an anti-superhero show, really.
Well, it sounds like I'd be interested in it.
At its heart, that's what it is. And it is a good antidote to the superhero fever that we are subjugated to.
I'm starting to think that bubble might be bursting.
In the cinema.
Surely that bubble's bursting now.
Well, you'd
right?
think it.
How long's this superhero nonsense going to keep going for?
It's been going on a decade at least.
Well, that's long enough, isn't it?
Well, it is, but there's no signs of it slowing down apart from the whole Corona thing.
All fads pass, though.
Well, yeah, look, and they said that it was the same with Westerns, Once upon a time, Westerns were the thing.
Everything was a Western.
So you're right, but it just seems like you keep thinking it's going to pass, and then it just keeps going. And then the next one just makes $500 million at the box office. And the next one, and the next one. And you and I, as true film connoisseurs, wait for the penny to drop, but it doesn't seem to drop.
No, they just breed a new generation of cinema goers.
Superhero-loving cinema goers. So, but I recommend The Boys. Definitely check it out. Great stuff. And I think the lead actor who plays the Superman-like character in it, who is also clearly a sociopath, is absolutely fantastic. Just his performance of like the simmering like rage and sort of unstableness and sort of Trump-like jealousy just boiling underneath the surface. He plays so well. So good stuff there. Watch The Boys. I haven't really enjoyed
And what did Dave McLaren have to do with that?
He recommended that to me. He goes, have you seen this? And I was like, well, I'm glad you brought me back to that. Because I'd forgotten that's how this all started. 2 hours ago when this all started, me talking about this. But yeah, so highly recommend that. Check it out, The Boys. I've watched 5 episodes. It's good stuff. Adult, true superhero. What if it really superheroes were around? It would be much more like this.
How's the violence?
Violence is very high. Violence is at a 10. So blood and guts galore, people getting exploded, people being crushed by superhero ass cheeks, and their brains exploding.
All right.
There's some good stuff in there. So highly recommend. Okay, good. So yeah, that was really it. I mean, we should probably think about wrapping this up. Dinner is my goody gumdrop dinner is waiting for me and
waiting for you.
So
your wife's still got a quarter of a cold frozen pizza
to heat up.
And no, I mean I'll just eat it cold.
Cold, yeah.
It's already been, it's already been heated, but it was frozen. You say because I'm just a bachelor.
That bachelor life.
That bachelor life, hanging out here. So I've got a quarter of a pizza there, which I'll eat. And then I guess I'll just get into bed nice and early and watch some Netflix by myself.
Chuck on a World War II doco.
Well, yeah, chuck on a World War II doco. Now, I normally watch the World War II stuff on YouTube when I'm eating breakfast.
I see.
That's my World War II time, generally. And at night, I'll watch something like on Netflix, something not World War II related usually. Well, not usually, mostly.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So that's my life, guys. This is what it's like behind the curtains. What it's like behind the curtain.
Eligible bachelor.
You think I'm this big shot film producer, this big shot famous film producer.
Eligible bachelor.
The world's most eligible bachelor.
World War II for breakfast. Netflix for dinner.
Netflix by yourself for dinner. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. We do love having you. We do have a lot of fun doing this show. Facebook.com/Guy and Harley if you'd like to follow us on Facebook. If you'd like to buy the beers for the show one episode, all you got to do is you got to go to paypal.com and use the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com. If you use that email address, you can make a donation of whatever you want to go towards the beers or whatever you want. pigvilleproductions@gmail.com. You can also find our film, olderfilm.com. That's one of the best things you can do for us right now is go to olderfilm.com and hit buy now, and you can see the many different ways that you can watch it, including a legal freeway, which means no excuses for piracy.
And all that we ask is that you chuck a little review at the end. Just hit through to IMDb. You can log on to it through your Facebook. It takes like one extra click, or your Google account. And just give it a star rating there and maybe type a little something. If you watch it on Amazon Prime, then do the same there. we would greatly appreciate it, because that's how it gets seen by more people, and that's how we continue to make things and survive.
If it doesn't do well, I won't be surviving.
That's right. If it doesn't do well, I mean, this is this is breaking news on the podcast. But if it doesn't do well, Harley's giving up on filmmaking. So we're gonna let that set in. Just think about it. He's been filmmaking for 20 years, so he's gonna give up on filmmaking if it doesn't do well. So we have until the first quarter when we get our first report, and then he's just giving up. That's it. Yeah. I'm going to have to find a new person to collaborate with after that.
Make movies with.
This is good, so this is, think about that for a second, guys. Let that sink in.
You guys want to be involved with the show? This is how you can directly affect the future of the show. The whole storyline.
Yeah.
The whole storyline. Which way does it go? Yeah. Do they keep making movies together? What happens? You can be directly involved. All you need to do is go and watch the movie. If you want us to keep making stuff,
and leave the ratings and reviews as well.
And the ratings and reviews are very important. Right,
yes, so don't want them to give up.
Kind of
don't want to give up. No. Giving up. It's, we've only got one quarter, guys. This is urgent.
Yeah, we're 3 months into.
It's on the brink. It's on the verge.
Yeah.
So, it's on the cliff.
I'm on the cliff.
He's looking down at the abyss, and he's deciding whether or not to jump.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's all true. It's a revealing episode of the show.
Just dropped a little bombshell there at the end. Just a little bombshell. He's on the cliff.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely lost some spark for my creative endeavors of late. It's getting tougher and tougher. To get excited.
Yeah. The only thing that I really struggle with is the editing. That. To me, that is the point where I used to, go, cool, going to sit down for 10 hours and just edit the shit out of this. And I'm going to do that tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And every free second that I have, I'm going to do that to get to the end of this project. And it's no worries. And now I'm like, editing's boring. And that's the thing. It's like, I've done it for 20 years. So it hasn't led to the lavish lifestyle that I imagined. That like the investment of time has not produced a return in that regard.
Well, that's kind of my problem, is the lack of rewards. Seems
5
like
out of 5.
There's lots of
9 out of 10.
It is good. Like, this I've done lots of very fun things because of filmmaking, and I like it, and I don't want to stop, and I don't want to change. But there's a certain element where you're like, God, there's just like, for example, Older comes out, but nothing changes. Emmy the Vegan comes out, but nothing changes. I Survived the Zombie Holocaust comes out. Nothing changes, like you struggle away, you work on these things, you
toil.
Think, one day it's going to come out. It's going to come out, and, everyone will love me. Everyone will finally love me.
Just like all my heroes.
And then it finally comes out and nobody loves you.
Yeah, to me, the scary part is is when you look at your heroes, right? You look at your heroes and you go, where were they at my age? But it's not so much where were they. It's almost like we all tell ourselves these stories of like, at the start, it's like the successful guys that were successful in their early 20s. Then it's the successful guys that were early in their mid to late 20s. Then it was the successful guys that became successful in their 30s. The late bloomers, the super late bloomers. And then you hold on to those ones and you go, wow, Michael Caine didn't have his big first acting role, or Jack Nicholson, or whoever it else, like these people that we admire and aspire to be like. But then as you get older, you get to the point where you're like, well, actually everyone that we look up to had made it by this point. But we have not done that. So this seems problematic for our dream chasing. This seems a little problematic.
Yeah, there's only so long you can keep the illusion alive.
But you got to just take joy in the process, mate. It's simple as that.
Yeah, well, I don't make enough stuff. That's the problem. Like, the last project I made was 2 years ago. It was Me the Vegan. So that's kind of the problem, there's not the joy in the process of like making something, sometimes, and then
waiting for it in post-production and then having it released and then like nothing happened and then just doing it all again, just starting it all again.
The creative life.
Yeah. Well,
On that note,
high note, it's time to wrap it
time
up.
to say goodbye.
Thank you all for listening, and we will be back next week. 5 years the show's been going on. Documents highs and lows, our descent into decrepitude.
Yep. So tune in next week. We'll see. We'll check in with Harley. Has he learned any more about Hitler? Is he feeling more positive about the creative process? We'll check in next week. Find out next week.
Tune in next week to find out. We'll see you later.
See you later.